It's official. Every day is game day at Buffalo Wild Wings. Grab select domestic beers starting at $3.25. We know every day is for sports, as mandated by Buffalo Wild Wings. Watch all the games with people that are here for the right reason, with dozens of beers on tap and 21 different flavors of signature sauces and seasonings, and a bounty of wings, shareables, burgers, and more. It's built for fans. It's home for sports. Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports. Offers and participation vary. Please drink responsibly.
Which Rams receiver represents the best draft value right now? What does Duke Johnson's contract extension mean for Nick Chubb? And we reveal whether you will be drafting in the 2018 FFPC Pros vs. Joes competition. Plus, Patrick Rybak, a winner of 7 FFPC main event leagues and numerous Football Guys Players Championship leagues, joins us to talk about the Washington receiving corps, why he's been drafting LeGarrette Blount in Football Guys drafts this season, and much more. We've got a great show for you. Dave Gerzak is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
Hey, bro.
Broadcast live and heard around the world. You are now listening to the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. It's the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for football analysis from the best fantasy players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak.
Thank you so much, Rob. Greetings and salutations, all of you Balkaholics and Gerzakin addicts. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com. I'm your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman, and my co-host is the patron saint of fantasy football, the Dizzle, Dave Gerzak. Coming up on tonight's show, we'll break down what an increased carry total will mean for Christian McCaffrey's fantasy production, what NFC South receiver is a shark pick at the end of your Football Guys drafts, and 7-time main event champ Patrick Rybak will join us shortly to talk about the undervalued aging guys in Football Guys drafts, what mid-round running backs he likes, and more, plus the revealing of the 36 Joes in this year's Pros vs. Joes Challenge is just around the corner. Shout out to the chat room right now. Feel free to post any questions you might have in there. If you want to connect with us on Twitter, you can do so at HSFF Hour, at Eric Balkman, at David Gerzak. Our Facebook page is facebook.com/HSFF Hour. And if you want to call us tonight, the phone number is 347-426-3682. That's 347-GAME-OVA. You can also email the show at the inbox, highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. If you have any questions for us or for Patrick, now's the time to send them in, and our producer and mutual friend Rob, our audio engineer Bryce, will get those questions to us in the fantasy feedback segment later on in the show. Want to remind everybody, if you go to rotoviz.com/podcast, you can check out my interview with $70,000 FFPC winner Ron Gachet. A lot of great stuff in there. We talked about some upcoming drafts this year. Ron plays in the Big Payback, the High Society. Came up as the runner-up in the High Society last year. He talks a little bit about that, and we preview the drafting season that is coming up. That'll be upon us for the next 3 months. Really, that's going on right now, rotoviz.com/podcast. Our Football Guys Players Championship early bird promotion is going on right now. Remember, if you register before June 30th and draft before July 15th, you will get a free $35 FFPC team credit added to your account. You can do that up to 3 times. Our room discounts at Planet Hollywood still going on. $10 for week 1 viewing at a Caesars property, restaurant, sportsbook, lounge, anything like that. Check that out at myffpc.com right now. We have best ball drafts starting at $35 and dynasty startups going off this weekend. They are still available throughout the summer. Check that out now. I want to talk to everybody about how appreciative I am about you guys supporting the FFPC main event and the FFPC live events and online events in general. 825 main event teams signed up for the early bird promotion, and 825, well, not 825 teams because some people had multiple teams, but I'm going to reveal the 36 Joes right now at the top of the show. Normally, if we were doing real radio here, I would not announce this until the end of the show. The Dizzle would not have that. So because of the Dizzle, any of you ne'er-do-wells who don't want to listen to the whole show and get all the great stuff from Patrick Rybak coming up in a little bit, you would be out of luck. But because of Dave, you're in luck. So I'm going to read them right now. These are the Joes in no particular order. Remember, there's 36 of them, and you'll be able to listen to all these guys draft live on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour coming up at the end of July against 36 of the industry pros. No particular order. They are not in alphabetical order, so if I skip over letters, stay tuned to the end. First one, friend of the show. Actually, I don't think he's a friend of the show. I think he's just a friend of us. Joe Del Zanero, Baker Boy, will be in the Pros versus Joes competition this year.
I wonder if he even knows what that is.
I don't know if he does, but he will shortly. Yeah, that's nice. Sky Eilers will be in as well, followed by Jude Wendell. Those are the first three teams in. This guy is a friend of the show. We've had him on before. Joe Stutzman will be in Pros versus Joes this year. Nice. And a former co-host of the show, Dave, filled in for you while you were gone. Coach's Crunchers, Scott Johnson, nice. In Pros versus Joes this year. Nice. We talked about Ron Gachet at the top, about High Society and Big Payback. A guy he's battled in many of these leagues is also in the Pros versus Joes this year. Glenn Lowy. Glenn Lowy will be in the Pros versus Joes. And I apologize. Now we're getting to the area. I might screw up some of the pronunciations of these names, so I'll do my best. If you know it, by the way, correct me, okay?
Do I have the list here?
I don't know if you have the list in front of you, but I'm going to read the names, and then you can correct me if I – okay. Bob Beyondich. Am I pronouncing that right?
I think so.
Bob Beyondich.
Yeah, Bob's a longtime player. Good guy.
Yeah, either way, he's in. Caleb Alcorn is in as well, along with Mike Maloney and Douglas Goodison.
Goodison. I know Doug.
Doug Goodison is in. Yep. That's the first 10, so we have 26 spots left. Eric Young is in, as well as Stephen Michaud. Am I pronouncing that right? Stephen Michaud?
I don't know.
Okay, Stephen Michaud, whatever. Followed by, let's see, Scott Hoyt, Kurt Kikas, another former guest of the show.
Scott Hoyt, Kurt Kikas,
yep.
Both those are good guys.
Yep, Kikas, former guest of the show. Todd Musgrave, and followed up by another friend of the show, guy who's been on the High Stakes Lowdown and Rotoviz too, Brian Holgen, will be in the Pros versus Joes.
So many people we've had on this show.
Yes,
actually.
Yeah.
Todd Musgrave, I know him.
This is our 342nd episode, so we've had a lot of people on. Chad Castorina, followed by a guy that we drafted against in Kentucky who's been a longtime FFPC player. Danny Mueller is in Pros versus Joes this year, wreaking havoc. Derek Brinkman in Pros versus Joes, and the 20th team in this year, John Kleinfelder, Fester himself, drafting in PVJ. So congrats to Fester. Okay, 16 spots to go. Don Ezell, Brent Weaver, Adrian Quintana, all in PVJ this year. Sean Olander.
So good hearing a lot of these, because I know a lot of them.
You know a lot of them, yeah, for sure. Cool. Sean Olander, Ron Hacker, Jay Reed, followed by, I can't remember if this guy was a guest or if he co-hosted, but Paul Miley is in this year as well. Yeah. A guy who has been very successful in the varsity contest over the years, Larry Weinhauer. I believe that's Troy's boys. Am I correct? His team name?
I'm not sure.
I think it is. So Larry Weinhauer, you're in. Mark Behrens and Jason Steves, Canadian Beavers. Is that correct?
Yep.
Jason Steves.
Mark Behrens is a longtime player as well.
Yep, for sure. Jason Steves is team number 30. So the last 6 spots here. Matthew Korn snares one of them, and Casey Dodge gets one as well. Richard Beard, longtime player. He will be team number 33. The last 3 spots here I'm revealing. Mike Dente, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. My apologies, Mike. Norm Kanapski. Okay. And the last team, is he? I don't know.
Kanapski.
The last team that's in this year, Eric Danowski. So congratulations to all 36 Joes. We will be posting this on the message.
I wish we could have more spots.
I wish we could too. Yeah, it's just not enough to go around. We'll be posting this on the message board later. You will also be getting an email from Darren Armani from FantasyMojo.com to find out what draft date works best for you, and we'll get that squared away. And congratulations. And for those of you who don't get in, we still appreciate you participating in the main event. And who knows, you may not have gotten into PVJ, but maybe you will be winning a $250,000 grand prize in the FFPC main event. All right, without further ado, Dave, we've done this PVJ stuff long enough. Let's get to tonight's guest. He started playing fantasy football with coworkers all the way back in 2013, won his Yahoo and his NFL.com leagues, and then he Googled Vegas Fantasy Football Leagues and found the FFPC. Those SEO keywords that we paid for, they worked.
That sounds like Casey Kasem.
Yeah. That's
just a long-distance dedication to his dog.
Well, I'll tell you what, this guy is keeping his feet on the ground. He keeps reaching for those stars. 7-time main event, FFPC league champ, Football Guys Players Championship league champion, and a self-proclaimed unfortunate Detroit Lions fan. He was born in Michigan. He likes to draft while on the boat or while traveling for work around the world.
On the
and
yacht.
Please welcome onto the show, into our world tonight, Mr. Patrick Rybak. Patrick, thanks for hopping on with us tonight, man. We really appreciate it.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys.
So you have, we're going to get into fantasy football. You have a very interesting job. What I perceive as a very interesting job. Tell the listeners what you do for a living.
I'm an airline pilot flying the friendly skies or unfriendly skies, depending on what day you go, to Europe and Asia for the day job on the Boeing 777.
Oh, it's Boeing 777.
Yeah.
So you fly United?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, well, hey, you know what? You know, the reputation is taking a hit. It's on the upswing now. I think you're good. Don't drag any Asian guys off the planes, and you guys are fine.
You know, it's funny. I never even see the passengers, to be honest.
I'm sure you don't.
Yeah, there you go.
You're above the passengers.
Listen, we talk about reputation. Patrick Rybak does nothing but improve the reputation of United Airlines. So whatever bad press you're hearing, it's not because of Patrick, for
After
sure.
United recently, I had a lovely flight.
Oh, did you really? You flew United?
Yeah, they're great.
Where was this? When was this?
Recently to Vegas and back.
Oh, okay. All right, there you go. Awesome.
Is United flying to Appleton? Is United flying to Appleton these days?
It's a great question.
I'm not really sure.
I was just
Milwaukee most of the time.
Yeah, well, I just flew out of Appleton last month, and I think I finally saw a United counter there. So maybe
they might have one of your partner, one of those little dumpy airlines. Partner airline.
Could be. I'm not sure. Patrick, we're going to get back to you on that one.
There's no 777 flying out of Appleton.
Been up there for Oshkosh, and then I said, "Wow, that looks like an airplane." And then we hit the bar up. So
that's awesome. Yeah, EAA, man. That's a whole
it's an air venture.
All right, so let's talk about your latest Football Guys draft you completed on Sunday. You took Deshaun Watson. He was the first quarterback off the board at the 504. That's a gutsy call. In a year when so many advice sites, generally suck, are promoting waiting on a quarterback, except for our partner sites, of course. Which one? What made you want to make Watson the number one quarterback pick there?
You know what? I think that may have been my fifth draft at the time. Watson was popping off the board, him and Rodgers, quite early. I think in the fives. I forgot exactly where his ADP was, but you know, he just has that wow factor, and early season injury. I pulled the trigger on that one, thinking because I was hoping he would drop in some of the early drafts, and ended up settling for Matt Ryan in round 15 or something. So.
It's one of those things, too. Like, we're talking to a guy, ladies and gentlemen, Patrick Rybak, who's won so many main event and Football Guys leagues over the years. I myself, and we talked about Baker Boy at the top of the show, he doesn't like taking the quarterback early because he needs that extra player, says he's not good enough. I'm with him on that. I need that extra running back, receiver, tight end, whatever I'm drafting there. But if you've had the success that Patrick has, certainly if you get a core four in front of you and then you add Watson, who probably has a very good chance at being the number one overall quarterback this year, it makes a lot of sense, especially when you're trying to beat out, so many other teams to win this national competition for $250,000. I also want to talk to you, Patrick, about your pick of Robert Woods at the 704 in that draft, and then 2 rounds later, you get Cooper Kupp. So I'm curious, is this the correct play, investing in Woods and Kupp in both, in the 7th and 9th round, and then just avoiding Brandon Cooks in the 5th or 6th as far as Rams receivers go? Or are you just trying, is it a case of trying to maybe hedge a little bit and try to get a piece of each of these receivers in your drafts?
It's a little bit of both. I'm just a big Sean McVay fan. What they did last year was excellent. I mean, it passed the eye test, and the numbers test. And I think Cooks, I want to be on board with him, but I can't pull the trigger on him. I think I have him in 1 and maybe round. I'd have to look at my draft board, 5 maybe. But there's just a lot there, I thought. I know Goff was working with Kupp in the offseason pretty good. So, no one was picking up on him, and I just thought value-wise, people I was kind of eyeing Randall Cobb, Alan Hearns, kind of in that regime area, but they ended up kind of popping them away. But that's a tough one. I haven't done that yet, where I picked them both up, but I thought the value was there.
Dave's a big Cooper Kupp fan for sure. I know that. You love Cooper Kupp in the 9th round. I mean, you can't draft in a Football Guys league, but if you could, that's some sweet value for you there, right?
I like Cooper Kupp. I mean,
9th round too, dude. 9th round.
Generally, receivers in their second year get better. He could be one of those players that gets just a ton of receptions. You just don't know. I mean, there's such a high. I think there's a high upside with him actually. So let's ask Patrick. Let me ask you. Speaking of upside, I want to ask you about LeGarrette Blount. You've been taking him in a lot of drafts late. So why do you think he's a better choice in the 13th or 14th rounds and Kerryon Johnson in the 7th or 8th? And notably, Matt Patricia is now over there in Detroit. He's had a lot of experience with Blount. So
yeah,
that's interesting.
And LeGarrette Blount too.
We're not talking about Le'Veon Bell here.
Okay.
Well, I tell you what, you just look at it and everyone's forgot about him, And value-wise, I'm watching OTAs and you see him doing the Patriots one-back power and counter running plays, and it just reminds me a lot of when he led the league in touchdowns. Detroit, we had a tough time kind of getting that last yard or two last couple of years. So with their draft picks and Ragnow and some of the, stealing TJ Lang from you guys in Green Bay, being healthy and all, but I don't know, just that's kind of a feeling I'm just getting on that. There's no data to back it up, obviously, but I've seen him in OTAs, running the same stuff he did in Patriots country. So it just feels like something that a new coach would feel confident with. Nothing against Kerryon Johnson. I mean, played well in the SEC, great film and all that stuff. But, he's kind of learning the league, learning how to be a pro and all that. And LeGarrette's kind of been there, done that.
Yeah, not only that, you think about these running back situations where there isn't, I don't want to say there's not a clear-cut lead guy, but when it does look like there's a lot of guys in there, maybe the smart thing isn't investing in the first guy going off the board. Maybe it's not investing in the second guy going off the board. Sometimes it's investing in that third or fourth guy going off. Well, I mean, I guess the fourth guy going off would be Amir Abdullah, and clearly, not a lot of FFPC players have interest in Amir Abdullah right now based on the ADP. But LeGarrette Blount in the 13th or 14th round, you start him on the right weeks, maybe a week where Johnson's dinged up or Riddick's dinged up, and you can get some pretty good value out of LeGarrette Blount, especially given that you're not paying much for him at all. Patrick Rybak, our guest tonight, a 7-time FFPC Main Event Football Guys Players Championship League winner. Are we about to see, Patrick, a big bounce-back season for both Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders now that Case Keenum has taken over the reins over Trevor Siemian in Denver? Those guys were big-time letdowns last year with Siemian throwing to him. Keenum, we obviously saw what he was capable of in Minnesota. Now he gets Thomas and Sanders throwing to him. What are your thoughts on those two receivers as far as their 2018 output?
Well, you tell you what, I honestly think one of the pillars of fantasy football is established veterans that are coming off bad years, to be honest. But most importantly, I remember comparing Case Keenum, who actually was my quarterback for two of my league winners last year. And, I don't know if I drafted him. I think I actually picked him up on the waiver wire. And he outscored Brady, which was the number one quarterback off the board in that particular league I was playing on the Football Guys. And I just thought, wow, he outscored him the week they played each other. His accuracy, he's made some tough throws when you look at the film. I honestly kind of am a fan. there was a lot of value there because I got him out of 404 on that particular draft we're talking about. David Johnson and Gronk, or Glasskowski as I call him, and then McCoy before that. So, although with Edelman going out, Glasskowski is looking better and better. So.
Yeah, he really is. We'll have to talk to about that in the next coming weeks, and in fact, we'll probably get to something later on tonight in the email section. But that is interesting, Dave, with this Edelman injury, Gronkowski or Glasskowski, as we will call him tonight, maybe looking like a better value. In fact, we'll get to talk.
How much more of a better value can you?
Well, I know. We're going to talk about Rob Gronkowski in a little bit anyway. But you have another question for Patrick before that. Well,
this question has to do with LaShawn McCoy and Jordy Nelson. So I'm going to do some non-humble bragging like I like to do about one of my dynasty leagues. I had a rookie draft, Patrick, and I was at the 202 pick, and this guy offered me Jordy Nelson in the 204 for my 202 pick. So I took that trade, and I'm pretty happy about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that has nothing to do with. There's no question there. I just wanted to brag up how dumb of a trade that was offered to me.
Hey, I know another podcaster. The host likes to do that a lot.
Anyway, so you've been taking guys like J.D. McCoy and I'm worth a 2-pick swap in the second round,
right.
Jordy Nelson.
Yep.
Do you think older guys like that are being unfairly penalized by FFPC drafters right now?
You know what? My thoughts are, if you look back, and then we're talking about this Sunday draft I did on, June 3rd or 4th, and guys like Jones and Jarris Geis and Royce Freeman, and they really haven't done anything. McCoy's been doing it for a while. I mean, if you're talking and drafting guys in the same area, my money's on a guy that's consistent, established, stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, those guys can go off, but until that, until it's even their job, at least I know McCoy is kind of being his job, and I kind of got Ivory to back him up, to be honest, because they brought him to Buffalo, Chris Ivory, so.
Ivory's pretty cheap. So what are the ADPs of? What are the ADPs of like Shady McCoy?
McCoy. We can do McCoy
like
first.
Some of those rookies.
Okay, well McCoy, right? I just have the best ball data for FFPC right now. Okay, so McCoy right now has an ADP of 210. This is over the last, I would say, 2 weeks.
Sure.
Okay, so McCoy is 210. Chris Ivory for his
17.
backup. No, 1911 right now.
I said 17th.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to say 17th, 18th. My mistake. And then what do you want to do? You want to do the rookie running backs?
Other rookies that are in that neighborhood, or are those guys a couple rounds later?
Are you talking about like the neighborhood of like McCoy?
Yeah.
That neighborhood? Yeah, they're a little bit later. You're looking at Rashad Penny, 311.
Okay.
Right now, he's one of the top ones.
Right.
Ronald Jones, 406.
Obviously, Barkley's in the first somewhere.
I'm not really. Yeah, obviously. I'm not really seeing any. I mean, Barkley is the only rookie running back I'm seeing ahead of them, and then you get into the Michelle's, the Freemans.
Right. McCoy's been he's been a top 10 back for how many straight years? I mean, even when he gets hurt, I mean, on a points per game basis, he's definitely top 10 all the time.
And okay. As much as people want to rip on the Buffalo offense, which is, don't worry, we're going to do it later on in the show too. They are playing 16 NFL football games this year, people.
Yeah,
they are going to be on offense for nearly half the time of those games. They're going to have to give the ball to somebody to try to advance it down the field. Now, who are you going to give it to?
That's part of the name of the game.
Are you going to give it to Charles Clay, Zay Jones, Kelvin Benjamin? Probably going to be leaning towards LaShawn McCoy. Volume matters.
He's the only playmaker on the team, even at his age. He's not really, he's still pretty awesome.
I think what game was that last year? Was that the Jets game that we were watching actually at your house? It was all that snow.
Yeah.
It was just
he was crushing.
McCoy looked like a spry, taut preteen Swedish boy running through that snow.
Who's that rookie?
Yeah.
Oh, that's McCoy.
Yeah, just slicing through, half a foot of snow. It was crazy. So, he's got a lot of mileage. He's got the age. He's still producing.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a chance he could be like a Frank Gore type, Dave, where we just underrate this guy every year as he gets older and he still produces like a top 15 season.
I think he's like the Heinz Ward of running back.
He definitely could be. Patrick Rybak, our guest tonight here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. I said we're going to talk about Glasskowski. Let's talk about him right now. Which tight end?
I don't like this name for him.
Patrick. Okay, we'll switch it back to Gronkowski just for this question.
By the way, let me interrupt you one more time.
Yeah.
If you know at the horse race tomorrow, I believe that there is a horse that Gronkowski owns part of called Gronkowski that is racing.
In the actual Belmont or one of the other?
Belmont.
Oh my, we got to bet that
Ask
horse.
the question. Let me look up the odds.
Your favorite tight end this year, Patrick, is I'm going to narrow. I guess favorite of these three. I'm going to narrow it down to Zach Ertz, Rob Gronkowski, or Travis Kelce. Which is your favorite to own for this season?
It's ironic you mentioned that because I was thinking about my first couple of drafts was probably Jimmy Graham because of the value there. I'm going to ask you guys a counter question, but I'll address your question first. Right now it's been Gronk for me personally, and that was before the Edelman injury. I just don't know what kind of connection Mahomes has with Kelce. Wentz had that late injury with, I know Nick Foles and all, but I don't know if I'm willing to bet on that. He's moved up ADP-wise, I believe Ertz has. And this draft, it really depended because I got Gronk off 204 on the roundabout because Kelce and Ertz were drafted right before him. I didn't want to put my money on Olsen with Cam's inaccuracies or Ingram with Barkley showing up and Odell coming back. So
looking at. I would say. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Patrick.
Oh, I was going to say to finish that up. Thoughts on Graham are they're moving him around the field. He's just a tough matchup. He had a pretty good season finishing up there with Wilson in Seattle. What's your guys' thoughts being Green Bay with Graham being there, with Rodgers coming back?
It's interesting. It's interesting you bring that up because this was something I think after the Packers initially signed Jimmy Graham, Dave and I talked about it on that show that week. And I thought Dave was going to be down on Graham, and I wasn't even that high on the signing. And Dave was actually higher on it than I was, and we made a wager of.
I'm going to win that
one. I got 5 on it. Whether Graham scores more or less than 10 touchdowns this year, and Dave said over. I said under. That's a
pretty high aspiration.
It is high, but I will say this: the stuff I've been reading about Jimmy Graham from scouts and stuff. It's weird because. They'll kind of name all his flaws. He can't do anything between the 20s. He's not the player he used to be. But pair him with Aaron Rodgers, man, he might be the one of the best tight ends in the league and putting up Buffo numbers again. I don't think that's going to happen. I am probably not targeting him in many of my drafts. But the fact is, right now, he's the 4th tight end off the board in the FFPC. And if you can get a guy who is a focal point of the offense, and he's a tight end in a tight end premium format in the early 4th round, that makes a lot of sense to do at this point. And Dave, I think you would probably agree that Jimmy Graham in the early 4th is a solid investment.
Yeah, I like Jimmy Graham. I mean, first of all, he's been finishing, except for the one bad year in Seattle, he's been still a top tight end. He's been producing very well. And he's going to a team that normally doesn't feature their tight ends very often. They got rid of Julian Edelman. They don't have a number 2 receiver. I mean, I guess Randall, 600 yards and 4 touchdowns. Cobb, technically they're number 2, so he sucks. I don't like Randall Cobb. I think his skill set's not that good. So you have Devontae Adams, who's young and talented, but Jimmy Graham is an elite player. He's an all-pro type guy. I'm sure Rodgers is going to find him frequently between the 20s, in the end zone, all over the place.
I know Rodgers already hooked up with him for a touchdown once.
And you clarified the preposition.
Thank you. And yes, hilarious stuff there from you, Dave. I will say this, that I did read that they had been working together even before Graham had signed with Green Bay. So and perhaps this is just me, not wanting to be super optimistic and then be disappointed, but I have cautious optimism on Jimmy Graham right now. We'll see what happens. The thing I was going to say before, there's 2 tiers that have developed so far in the FFPC as far as tight ends go. Yeah. You have the Kelce, Gronk, Ertz tier, which is basically, anywhere from like the mid-second, maybe early second to the end of the 2nd round. That's where you usually see those 3 tight ends go. And then the next tier is usually that early 4th round with Jimmy Graham, Evan Engram, and Greg Olsen going in that. And then after that, you'll see starting in the 5th round, they kind of get a little bit more spread out.
Any last tight end comments, Patrick, on the Jimmy Graham and the other fellas?
Well, I've always kind of been a Kelce or bust kind of guy, but Glasgowski's kind of dropped, and it looks good in a couple of my boards now just because of with Edelman going out. But I'm a big Chris Hogan fan in the later rounds as well, and that's kind of, I felt like some value there too, to kind of tie that in together just for the Patriots way.
Speaking of Zach Ertz, he's currently at the Cavaliers.
Yeah, they're showing him at the Cavs Golden State game. Zach Ertz in attendance, sitting next to Carson Wentz, and his owner, Jeff Lurie, is also there.
And also talking about different sports, but Horst Gronkowski was originally 12-1, currently 24-1. The trainer is Chad Brown, and the jockey is Jose Ortiz, who's quite a good jockey.
Chad Brown is. I saw a story about.
Chad C. Brown.
You remember the old linebacker for the Seahawks? He has some.
I'm sure that's just not the same guy.
No. But I just read a story this week. There's some horse in one of the Belmont races tomorrow that was named after Chad Brown. Not a trainer, not a jockey. There's some horse named after Chad Brown or something like that. Anyway, nobody cares. We do have a question that people will care about.
You've won 7 main event titles over the years in the FFPC. 7. That's crazy. So, Patrick, what's been your secret to coming out on top so many times against that level of competition? And don't tell me it's putting on the autopilot and studying your draft boards.
You know what? I see a lot of guys that are kind of gals as well, but that don't really jump off the waiver wire, and that saved me a few times. I kid you not, on defenses and kickers, because the point system, So I like to stay and make that one big move. There's usually someone that pops in. Last year, Zerline, I picked Greg Zerline up, and God, he outpaced most of the kickers by 20, 30 points end of the year, just by kind of running, you running the numbers and the data on that, and not being too emotional about the player, and just, hey, my pick didn't work out in the draft. That's okay, waiver wire time, but make a big move. Use a lot of your capital on that.
That's a good. And the other kicker was that Harrison Butker guy.
Yeah, Butker.
Both of those kickers just were going crazy. All of a sudden, you're playing that owner, and all of a sudden they pop off for like 17, 20 points, and you get so annoyed.
I lost I believe I lost in the Kentucky league playoffs last year because of Butker. I lost by like 4 points, and he had like 20-something that week.
I honestly think it's awesome. I love having kickers. I know some people don't like kickers.
I know.
I think it's great.
Hey,
you know what? You don't care about kickers? Good.
Here's the thing. I don't necessarily think it's great, but I would feel weird participating in a league without a kicker. I just think
I'm in a dynasty without a kicker. I hate it.
Yeah,
it doesn't have kicker or defense. I cannot stand it.
I know. I am a fan of having that kicker and defense variation. Makes it more interesting.
Do you agree, Patrick, on that? Are you a kicker and defense fan, or would you rather not have either one?
No, I'm a big fan of those two. That's won me my leagues all the way to the last league, to be honest. But most people don't put value there, which, look at Jacksonville, how many points they put up last year. It's just crazy. Them and Baltimore and some of those guys. I try to fight for every inch, because people really prioritize, the RBs and, all wide receivers and then no running backs. And I'm like, I've just noticed being balanced and then fighting for that kicker and defense has really paid off.
Yeah, for sure. It's helped me in many leagues over the years as well.
Hurt me a lot.
It's hurt you? Do you not pay attention to kickers and defense?
I do pay attention, but every once in a while, you have like, I got, back in the old, a couple of years ago, like,
right.
I got the Seahawks against the Rams back when they sucked.
Right.
All of a sudden, the Seahawks put up like a 3 or something.
Yeah.
Like
well, it happens.
That'll happen.
It happens with every position. You know what I mean? It's just that's fantasy, Dave, as somebody wise once said. Let's get to some emails for you, Patrick, here that came in from some of the listeners. First one, we're going to go to York, South Carolina, and hear from John. He writes, between Crowder, Doxson, Reed, and Richardson, who is your favorite Washington pass catcher to own this season? Thank you for the email, John in York, South Carolina. I guess we need to sort of take into into question where these guys are being picked in drafts right now. But as far as those 4 guys between Jamison Crowder, Josh Doxson, Jordan Reed, Paul Richardson, have you found yourself drafting 1 or 2 of those guys more than the others, or have you been staying away? What's your read on those 4 guys this year?
Honestly, I haven't been too impressed with the creativity of the Washington Redskin offense, but Crowder, I always thought he had some momentum at the end of the year. I think he has the best value per se from my point of view, but I might run out there and try to watch minicamp while I'm here in the next when they open up, just to see what I see, But Richardson, I kind of liked him in Seattle, but I don't know, what did he do last year? Like 45 catches or something. It's hard to say. Doxson, I just can't sign off on him personally. That's just my personal thought. I put him a couple last year, but Crowder and Alex Smith, I know, have been working out in the offseason, I guess. Developed some chemistry.
I'll bring this up, and Dave, feel free to disagree with anything I'm about to say or corroborate it, which I think you will. Look at these four guys. Paul Richardson got a massive deal based on a hyper-efficient year where he cashed in on a ton of big plays with Seattle downfield. Josh Doxson, I know you've never been a big fan. We're still waiting for him to sort of break out. He's gotten his opportunities, hasn't taken advantage. Jordan Reed can't stay on the field. Jordan Reed can't stay on the field. I mean, to me, and I know you're not a huge fan of this guy, but to me, the last guy standing here is Crowder. I mean, that's probably my favorite of these four.
I think so, for sure. I know that, you read this Roto World blurb about Darius Geis, and he's going to have 90 catches this year. I know you've been talking about that.
Hold on. I'm going to stop you right there. First of all, it was not a Roto World blurb. This was from a sourced Washington beat writer that I sent in a text message to you and Two-Packer. Oh. And nowhere in there did it say 90 catches. Nowhere in there did I say that he was going to be catching 90 balls this year. It was just a source that said he was very impressed with Geis catching the ball, and then quoted Jay Gruden saying he was very impressed with Darius Geis catching the ball as well.
That's actually very true. That is exactly what it was. So
I have to defend the good name of me being a Juilliard-trained journalist, Dave. Yes. I don't want to be dragged through the mud.
Not just ballerinas anymore.
Exactly.
So I don't like Doxson. Reed's injury history. I mean, I went on a sports injury predictor. I'm on my MacBook laptop. I'm not even kidding. To get through his injuries, I have to scroll. I shouldn't have. I mean, this is like 2000. There's like 25 of them. Reed. No, I will not draft Reed. I never draft Reed. I think Crowder's the guy. Richardson has a little bit of upside, but also has a downside. I don't see him as a high enough volume player.
Let me ask you this real quick. And Patrick, I have another email here for you that I'm going to read in a second, but I want to get your opinion on this. Which side of this dynasty trade do you like better? Jarvis Landry, Pierre Garçon, Jordan Reed. That's one side. Okay?
Okay, so
Landry.
Patrick and me, you're asking both of us. Okay.
Okay, I'll ask Patrick too. That's fine.
He's the damn guest.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. Total faux pas on my part. Landry, Garçon, and Jordan Reed is one side, and the other side is one player. It's Melvin Gordon. Which side would you rather have for dynasty? Dave, I'll let you go first on this one.
I'll take the package.
You would take the package, okay? And Patrick, which side would you rather have for dynasty?
I'm a big fan of Melvin Gordon, to be honest. I kind of like what they're doing.
Melvin Gordon.
He is or is not?
He is a fan of Melvin Gordon. Yeah.
See, and I'm less of a fan of Gordon. That's because just his productivity.
Justin Jackson?
Averaging 3.8 yards a carry or whatever it is in his first few years. So I think he needs to average a higher yards per carry for me to really love the guy.
I will say
Landry's fantastic, and then you get a little upside with the other two guys.
All right, so I'll say in this league, I got Melvin Gordon on this side of the deal. Landry was probably this is the league I have Allen Robinson and Odell Beckham and like Smith-Schuster or something like that. Sure. And I also have Greg Olsen at tight end. And my number 2 running back in that league, you guessed it, it was C.J. Anderson.
Well, that's great.
So I needed to make. I was
trade.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's pretty close.
All right. Vince in Piketon, Ohio, or Picketon. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm sorry, Vince. He writes, "Hey, Patrick, which running back are you more likely to draft, Duke Johnson or Aaron Jones? Good luck in 2018. Thank you for the email, Vince in Piketon or Picketon, Ohio. Somewhere in Ohio. I'm sorry. So which guy are you more likely to draft this year? Is it the Browns' Duke Johnson or is it the Packers' Aaron Jones, Patrick?"
Can I say neither?
Yes, that's a suitable answer.
I don't know. What do you guys think? Is Montgomery going to see some good playing time over Jones?
I don't think if Montgomery sees the playing time, I don't know if it necessarily comes at the expense of Aaron Jones. I think he's going to be worked in. Initially people have been asking me about this Packers running back situation for the last couple of months, and I admittedly don't have a great handle on it. Originally, I thought, based on, trying to read between the lines of what Mike McCarthy's been saying to the media, it seems like he wants one guy to have the job, but he doesn't necessarily know if that's, really a reality. And now reading it after OTAs, what he's said, it seems like they want to work all 3 of these guys in. So for me, in my drafts, I'm avoiding it completely. However, Duke Johnson plays on a team where they just signed Carlos Hyde and drafted Nick Chubb, so I think there's some committee work there
just extended
as well.
Duke Johnson
and they just extended him, yeah, for sure.
I'm going to defend Duke Johnson. So
you would take Johnson over Jones?
I will take the number 12 running back last year. Duke Johnson.
All right.
Over Aaron Jones, who may or may not be ahead, or he'll probably be behind Jamal Williams. I mean, I don't even see how he's going to start. I mean, even Duke Johnson was number 17 running back on a points per game basis. You know, so he's a solid RB2. People just dismiss him.
Yeah.
He's going to be the third down back. Hyde is not going to be he's not going to be on third downs. And
maybe Hyde's the guy that really
not going to be on third down. So it's like they love Duke Johnson.
Yeah, Hyde's the guy that really loses in this situation because they want Chubb to be the man because they invested in that high draft pick. They just extended Duke Johnson, and Hyde probably just kind of bides his time this season. Never really worked in unless there's an injury, and then they just cut him after this year.
Keep in mind, so allow me to rant more. Duke Johnson was number 12 running back on an 0-16 team last year.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, good God. I mean, the arrow is only pointing up. I mean, their over/under for wins is 5.5. Their Pythagorean wins was like 4, I think, last year.
Right.
So the team is on the upswing, actually.
Our mascot of the show, Two-Packer, who you can follow on Twitter at Two-Packer, says, Duke, Aaron Jones rhymes with Stones, which means he stinks. Or he sinks, I guess, as it were. He also said that United does fly out of Appleton. Patrick, it sounds like you are of the belief that you are going to find a different player to use an 8th or 9th round pick on and stay away from Johnson and Jones in general.
I had Johnson last year. I mean, he's talented in that multi-dimensional facet, but there's just certain areas where I try to stay away from, and that's just one where I'm not personally targeting.
All good. So speaking of that, let's talk about another player you're trying to avoid. You can't use Duke Johnson. In the early rounds of FFPC drafts, and some of you are planning to target as a sleeper in the middle to late rounds.
You know, I with the value ADP-wise, Odell Beckham I'm kind of avoiding. I've mostly been lucking out and getting Antonio Brown and David Johnson. I got Saquon Barkley in one of the drafts. But I don't know. Odell Beckham, personally, there's just a lot there for me. I used to watch him in Louisiana when I lived in Louisiana at LSU. With Saquon coming over, he's just great to watch. And I'm thinking, they get him on a linebacker. That might be a nice success play for them instead of throwing it to Beckham. And then how's Ingram getting catches too, So that's one guy I don't think I want to look for early on. Late-wise, I like Danny Amendola because we brought up Landry earlier, and Landry had, 112, let me look here, 112 receptions last year. And with, I don't know, I just think Tannehill's got to go somewhere. I would throw to Amendola if I was him, if I was Tannehill. Just coming off the slot, good hands. I'm trying to think. I got him in most of my drafts, ADP wise, at pretty good value there. I'm thinking
good teams, right?
Yeah.
Amendola, of course, you're going boss.
I can only tell you with the FFPC best balls right now, but
no problem.
18-11.
Wow.
Super late for Amendola right now.
It's crazy. It is. I mean, it's cheap when you look at if you assume Devontae Parker isn't going to break out, which he never does. And then Kenny Stills is going to run a lot of deep routes, and then and then they have like a young tight end. It's like, who are you going to throw it to? It's not just Gesicki.
And no Landry there, as Patrick alluded to. This is at least the third. It's at least the second. I believe it's the third, if memory serves me correctly, Dave, that we've had a very accomplished high stakes player on here that's come on and sang the praises of Danny Amendola. This is somebody that we need to pay attention to for this year.
As long as we don't hear the word clavicle and broken with Amendola in the first 15
Just clavicle in general.
We're all right.
I don't want to hear I don't want it to be strained,
anything,
pulled, fractured, broken. You can pull a clavicle. Danny Amendola's done it. No question. He's strained it. Third degree strain of his clavicle. Patrick, what a pleasure. I thank you, by the way, for coming on tonight and staying a little bit extra. And I know we took up a little bit more of your evening than you'd probably planned. But I want to thank you so much for coming on. This was a pleasure. I wish you nothing but the best of luck in all your Football Guys leagues, your main event this year. We'll see what happens. Maybe we'll end up talking to you at the end of the season when you're cashing a big check. But best of luck to you. I really appreciate all the insight you were able to give us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Drinks are on me if you see me at the top. So.
There you go. All right.
I mean, if I fly United on a 777, I'd ask who's the pilot.
That's what you got to do. Patrick, we'll see you again and talk to you again real soon, man. Thanks again.
Thanks, guys. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks.
Patrick Rybak, the 7-time league champ in the FFPC main event, Football Guys Players Championship. You know, it stinks. I didn't realize this till, I don't know, probably about like 10 minutes ago. He was actually in the Pros vs. Joe's drawing and didn't get selected, and he was on the show tonight.
Oh, you know, that was smart to avoid mentioning that.
I should have brought it up, but I didn't think about it until like
it just
after.
It isn't fixed, right?
It's not fixed. Yeah, it's a legit, definitely a legit drawing.
The names.
Yeah, Chris.
I didn't even know the names until you were calling them up.
I was wondering about that if you knew, because I didn't find out till a little bit.
Exchange emails. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't find it. I purposely said I was like Ernst and Young. I'm like, don't let me know. I don't want to spill the beans. You know. So I did find out before the show, but wasn't that much before the show started. Thanks to Football Guys, Roto World, and Rob for tonight's rundown. Julian Edelman, I teased this earlier. Let's talk about it now. He's not had the appeal of his impending 4-game suspension heard by the NFL yet. This is according to Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network. If he does lose this appeal, it's going to hurt his value in drafts. Without the suspension, he obviously could be looking at maybe a top 25, top 30 season, maybe something even better than that, even coming off the ACL season. But, Dave, if he is suspended and these appeals, they're usually not successful.
Right.
I was just thinking before this suspension was announced, I'm like, you know who nobody's talking about this year? Julian Edelman.
Now we're talking about him.
And now we're talking about him for the wrong reasons. How do you handle him in drafts right now? You know what I should have done? I should have checked where he was going in drafts. After the suspension was announced, and I didn't.
We haven't really. There's not been much time for that, really.
Okay, well, I can tell you that he's gone as late in the FFPC best balls as the 909, and I would imagine that would be after the suspension was announced. Where are you looking at drafting Edelman now? I mean, can you count on him as your 4th receiver, 5th receiver? What are you looking at as far as like how you would handle it if you were drafting at this point of the season?
I wasn't really seeking him out necessarily, but if he fell far below what I would consider where he should be selected, so if he was falling really late, past his ADP, even past his adjusted ADP, I would take him.
He's there in the 8th round.
I'm passing.
Okay, double-digit round, you'd be on it.
Yeah,
then?
it's the 10th round. I mean, again, I don't know where it's falling. I wouldn't start taking Hogan in the 3rd round or 4th round.
I've seen this. I've seen this already.
It's like, okay, dude, he's only out 4 games, and he may come back. He may or may not even get his main job back. I probably will. I mean, he's 32, I believe, at this point. It's tough to trust Hogan, for the whole season. Although, Hogan is someone that has some upside. I mean, I can see it.
Who's the beneficiary here? We talked about how this obviously hurts Edelman, assuming the suspension is upheld. Are these targets simply going to Gronk and Hogan, or is there a player that we should be talking about drafting, even if he only has value for the first month of the season? I think Jordan Matthews you have to look at. I mean, he's actually a player that was a top 24 player for a couple of years, and he had a kind of a negative, bad year due to injuries, and he's back. I mean, he's not a superstar. He was a 2-star recruit. That was his big thing when he went to Vanderbilt. Right. A 2-star recruit. He's a super hard worker. He probably knows the offense. He's a smart guy. Has to be smart. Yep, exactly. Absolutely. You don't get into Vandy otherwise. Although if you're an athlete, whatever. Right. But I think it could be Matthews. I think he could benefit. Has not gone higher than the 1508 and FFPC best ball leagues within the last 2 weeks. So even after the injury, people are still getting a good deal on him. And Dave, 15th round pick. Who cares? You see what happens. If it works, you cut him. Or if it works, you keep him. If it doesn't work, you cut him and you move on after that. I think pairing Matthews with either Edelman or Hogan actually. That's what you need to do. Whether it's in best ball or even in a regular classic type league. I mean, this is an offense that's that elite that if you can grab 2 of those guys, that's solid. Last guy I'll mention. Braxton Barrios. Oh, yeah, the white boy from Miami. 6th round pick from Miami, a short, quick slot guy. That's what he played at Miami. Yeah. What about him right now? You should check out his mock draftable profile. All right, we will do that. It's like a scrunched up little, I don't know. There's nothing there. It's tiny. It's invisible to the naked eye. It's like an electron. He's basically free right now. 28th round pick in FFPC for Absolutely. Sure. Would you pair him with Edelman at all? Is that something you would do? Or is it Matthews Edelman? Yeah, I would look at it. I mean, okay. Right. 28th round for Barry. I don't think I would take him in a classic league at this point, though. We don't have to talk about this a ton, but I will bring it up since Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network saw fit to tweet about it. But Duke Johnson did agree to terms on a 3-year contract extension with Cleveland yesterday, which would have been Thursday, June 7th. My brother's birthday, by the way. Happy birthday, Jared. It's worth $15.6 million, according to Rappaport's source. It is a $5 million signing bonus. You look at what running backs have been valued at in this league right now, and perhaps I'm using the wrong word. Maybe I should say devalued at. This is a nice little chunk of change for Duke Johnson, knowing that he's never been a 3-down guy and he's never been the man in the backfield in Cleveland before. But you talked about it earlier. Looked great last season, had a fantastic fantasy season. You're down on Hyde. You got to be up on Duke Johnson right now.
Like I mentioned earlier, I like Duke Johnson. It's funny. I heard that they were working on this contract extension. So in 2 of my dynasty leagues, I drafted Nick Chubb ahead of DJ Moore, and I tried to trade Chubb to the DJ Moore owner in both leagues, and they both let the offers expire, which is really bummed me out.
So frustrating.
I did get Moore in 3 leagues, but I really, I was hoping Chubb would be this, possible 3-down back, and eventually he could become something like that.
Definitely.
It's possible. But I think this really puts it really impacts this negatively, that the ability of him to possibly become the 3-down back. I think Geis actually, now, because of this, has more of a clear path to it, because I don't think Chris Thompson is someone, he may not get re-signed at some point. So I'm a little disappointed in that, but you got to like Duke Johnson.
Let me ask you this: redraft league, who is the better value? Is it Nick Chubb in the mid-7th, or is it Duke Johnson in the mid-8th?
I think it's Johnson. I think I would say the odds of who's going to score more fantasy points this year, Duke Johnson has got to, I would say it's like a 60-40 favorite in that.
Really? Okay.
I would say. Would you
go ahead. Go ahead.
Nice.
You can ask. Yeah.
Would you want to put I got 500 bet on you take Chubb and I would take Johnson?
I see what you're getting at here. I like the spirit of it.
You into it.
I know, but it feels like it, and I don't feel strongly enough about this, so I will pass. Let me ask you this. Is there any value in using both your 7th and 8th round pick in Chubb and Duke Johnson?
Personally, I don't really care for that myself.
You would not do it. Okay, that's fine. I would not do it either, but I just wanted to get your feel on it.
Now, if you're in a main event league and you're looking at Chubb versus Johnson, I guess I could kind of see taking Chubb because he does have the sky-high upside potentially.
Chris Thompson's actually being drafted ahead of Nick Chubb right now.
But
Can you believe that?
He still has Carlos Hyde to deal with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not nothing.
There's not a lot of great choices around Nick Chubb right now. Tevin Coleman, Tariq Cohen, Chris Thompson, Kerryon Johnson, Marlon Mack, Isaiah Crowell, all going around Nick Chubb right now.
I mean, if you're looking for a main event pick, Kerryon Johnson would be the guy to take because he could emerge.
Might be Tevin Coleman for me.
Yeah, he's all yours.
Okay. Derrick Henry and Deion Lewis are considered 1A and 1B in the eyes of offensive coordinator Matt LaFleur. This is, of course, from former Titans beat writer Paul Kaharski. This is from his website, paulkaharski.com. This is no bueno, as I like to say to my kids all the time, for fantasy owners.
You're teaching your kids Spanish?
We're not. Oh, you have to.
That's very nice.
Yes. You know what's weird is they ask me what a lot of words mean. They've never asked me what bueno means yet.
Really?
Yeah, it's probably not good. It's no bueno.
Buenos tardes, muchachos.
So this is not what we want to hear as fantasy owners. We want to hear some clarity, and we're not getting it. Are Henry and Lewis, Dave, avoids for you now? And before you answer that, let me just tell you where they're going in best balls right now. Derrick Henry has slipped down to the 409 right now for his ADP, and Deion Lewis has slipped down to the 510. The 510. Are either of those spots places that you would be looking at investing in either Henry or Lewis?
At this point in time, I probably would be avoiding both, actually.
I think you have to. I mean, there's so many other good choices there.
Yeah, neither one is really cheap enough for me to look at. Where's like Ronald Jones going? In that
6th round, probably?
Yeah, I would much rather have Rojo.
Hold on. I might have misspoke.
He's splitting time with Peyton.
No, 406.
All right.
406, not 604.
But that's right around Henry's spot.
Yeah. I mean,
splitting time with Peyton Barber.
Right.
Oh my God, he's so talented.
You know who
sucks?
You know another running back who goes right after Derrick Henry? Who would you rather have, Derrick Henry or Sony Michel?
Oh yeah, Sony Michel. No,
rather have Michel.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
That's actually pretty.
Let me ask you this one. It's weird that we're playing a Would You Rather. Derrick Henry or Royce Freeman? I think I'm taking Henry there. Just weird stuff going on in the Denver backfield
Freeman
right now.
With Devontae Booker is terrible too.
I know you don't like Booker. Derrick Henry or Mark Ingram?
I'll take Ingram.
I think I'd take Henry. He's not suspended.
I'll take 12 games of
okay,
Ingram.
That's fine. Derrick Henry or Alex Collins?
It's pretty close. It's really pretty close.
Yeah. I mean, I would take Henry, but whatever.
I'm going to take Collins.
Wow. You would draft Alex Collins over Derrick Henry?
Collins is really good list.
Would you want to put 5 on that?
Sure, why not?
Okay, so I have Derrick Henry outscoring Alex Collins this year.
Where's Collins getting drafted?
It's not that much lower. No, he's not in the 6th. Hold on,
People are talking about timeshare for Alex Collins.
Okay, hold on. 409 for Derrick Henry, 501 for Collins.
Yeah, I'll take Collins. That's fine.
You want to do it? Should I give you points?
No, that's fine.
No points?
Yeah, you know.
Look at Dave Gerzak being a man over there.
What am
I got 5 on Derrick Henry.
I got 5 on Alex Collins.
I got 5 on it.
I have Henry in a couple dynasty leagues.
Man, I'll tell you what. If I lose this one, I should just get out of the fantasy football industry. Because I have no business losing that one.
Why?
Last one, Derrick Henry.
He is splitting time.
I get it.
The team's not that great.
I don't really think Alex Collins is all that special of a back.
I dealt him for a second-round pick in Carrington.
Derrick Henry or Jay Lewis? Jay Ajayi. Last one.
Henry. I hate Jay Ajayi, as you know.
This is a Deion Lewis one. Deion Lewis or Lamar Miller?
Ugh, God, I'm going to decline to answer that.
Well, you have to pick one.
I'll take Lamar Miller.
I would take Deion Lewis. All right, let's move on. Talk about a guy you do like, Dave.
I don't think Donta Foreman is going to be back in time to usurp Lamar Miller's 3.8 yards of garbage.
I don't think he will either for week 1. At some point, it's going to happen.
I can't stand Lamar Miller.
That Achilles is just too young to be fried, Dave. It's too young to be fried
He's
permanently.
The guy that's there when they turn around to give the ball to the 2-hole.
Donta Foreman has a nice, flexible, boingy Achilles that's going to bounce back.
Oh, yeah, those are always like 8-month injuries or whatever.
Yeah, he's fine. Like I said, the guy you like this season. Christian McCaffrey will be the featured back following the release of Jonathan Stewart, according to
that's not true.
According to Panthers beat writer ESPN David. According to Panthers beat writer for ESPN David Newton, it's true. He also reports that Ron Rivera said he sees no reason why McCaffrey cannot reach 200 carries after finishing with 117 as a rookie. McCaffrey's added weight this offseason. Now, they did add C.J. Anderson as well, and C.J. Anderson not maybe much of a pass catcher, but he can get it done between the tackles as long as he's healthy. McCaffrey, he can make plays in space. He is not fantastic when he is asked to run in between the tackles, but he never has shied away from that workload. McCaffrey, here, we're talking about an increase of 83 touches. You know, again, this is kind of like we're just talking about abstract numbers here.
Sure.
This is a difference of 83 touches, but they're carries. Now, are you concerned if they do increase his volume on carries, this might increase his decrease his availability for, getting hurt or dinged up, and then decrease his catches? Talk a little bit about McCaffrey here and what this news means to you as a guy who might be looking at drafting him this year.
Well, I think that, first of all, McCaffrey has gained a little. I've read a lot of his stuff because I'm a huge fan of McCaffrey. So keep in mind, I'm rose-colored glasses, totally biased. He's gained like 5 pounds of mostly muscle. His arms look bigger. People have been talking about that. And he says it's no big deal. He's just been working out and this and that. McCaffrey only had 10 bench press reps, so his upper body strength is a little bit lacking as a rookie.
Yeah.
And he had 111 carries for 421 yards and only 2 touchdowns as a rusher last year. Not very impressive. However, his last 8 games, he averaged 4.7 yards per carry. He did improve as the season went on.
Right.
He just looked timid. He didn't look quite right as a rookie running back, as a rusher. But he did get better at it. I mean, 9 for 39, 12 for 63. I mean, those aren't great, but they're okay. The question is, will he get 105 targets again with North Turner offense? I think it's going to be close. I don't know that he'll surpass that, but I think he'll be in that same neighborhood. He was RB8 last year, 221 fantasy points. I think he's got a good shot to beat that. And where is he getting drafted?
I can tell you right now.
Third?
Yeah, it's right in that area. Christian McCaffrey right now, FFPC best balls 207 is his ADP.
I feel that that's maybe a little undervalued, but not a lot. I think.
Who'd you rather have, Christian McCaffrey or Jerick McKinnon?
I'll take McCaffrey.
Okay.
He's more pedigree than McKinnon.
That's true. Last thing I'll say about McCaffrey. No Kelvin Benjamin anymore, but he does have Greg Olsen coming back off of injury and also DJ Moore. So does that affect his targets at all, or do you think they're not necessarily that related, bringing in those getting Olsen back and then having Moore in the fold over Benjamin. Obviously, Funchess is still there too.
Yeah, I don't see this being a major deal. I do think Moore is a playmaker, so I think however, Moore's still a rookie, so you know what I mean. I think that maybe in coming years, I think Funchess may end up leaving after this season, and that Moore becomes. I think Moore is going to become the number one wide receiver on that team. I don't think Funchess is that. Although he's the bigger 6'5", 225 guy. You know,
we talked about this last week with you weren't here, but Michael Inyang came on and co-hosted the show with me, and we talked about Norv Turner this. I think it was David Newton actually said that he's of the belief that Norv Turner doesn't believe that he necessarily needs a number one receiver in this offense. And I was like, okay, well, does that mean the targets to the receivers, are they going to be more split between Moore and Funchess? But I guess if you believe Moore is the more talented guy, the cream would rise to the top, as Tupacker likes to say.
That's what I think. I think I think Moore is supremely talented compared to Funchess. I like Funchess, actually. I think he's not bad, but I think he's more of a 50, 60 catch per year guy. By the way, 1 year ago,
yes,
people were talking.
They were.
Not us.
Nope.
The Panthers don't throw to running backs. Cam Newton doesn't know how to throw to a running back.
Right.
Well, shit. He threw to him 105 times last year for 75 catches. Apparently, he learned how to do it.
I misspoke earlier with ADP for Christian McCaffrey. Tupacker reminding me in the chat room that Revelation sets the ADP, and he went at the 112 there.
To Tupacker?
Yes. He also went 112 in Genesis for whatever it's worth, too. Yeah. Ronald Jones is being envisioned as a three-down back by Tampa Bay running backs coach Tim Spencer.
Which we did talk about previously.
He also added that he would want Jones to be able to catch the ball because they have some things they'd like to give him with all that speed that Ronald Jones offers.
That's really exciting.
This is a report from Buccaneers.com written by Scott Smith. Ronald Jones, like you said, competing with Peyton Barber, probably not the biggest obstacle in the world to fantasy value. And I said this I think I said this on this show last week. I don't necessarily know if Jones separates himself from Barber enough by the start of the season, but by the time we get October, I think he's the man there.
I think.
You think he's the man right away?
I think he's the man in preseason. That he's far more talented. It's just not really a competition. Ronald Jones did not have a great combine. He tweaked his hamstring, and it was not fully recovered at his pro day.
He had to have 2 pro days.
Yeah, he's a 10.57 sprinter in the 100 and late in high school. He's a big dude. He's up to 209 actually. He's not as small of a guy as they like to think. And we watched this interview at our other place where and he just has that look. I hit the other player that I saw that had that look is Sammy Watkins, where he's just got this. He's just a pro. He's just got that look.
Sully Ronald Jones II's good name was Sammy Watkins.
When Sammy Watkins came out, he was like the number 1 overall dynasty pick. Keep that in mind. And granted, he's like falling off the radar a little bit, but he just had this pro look where he's like, oh yeah, man, I'm doing this, and this is a guy who's been groomed to be an NFL running back from day one. And that's what he's damn well going to be, Bulky.
You know what's interesting? You bring up Watkins, and I'm going to bring up Drew and Josh Maselli here. I know Drew listens to the podcast, and we always like seeing him out in Vegas. I was sitting next to those guys drafting. This is 2 or 3 years ago now. I can't remember if it was a big payback or high society, but I was proxying for somebody who wasn't there, and I was announcing their picks, and they were sitting immediately to my left, and it got to that. And these drafts, there's no value, there's no sleepers, everybody gets scooped up, okay? There's no value. And it got to them, and I don't know if it was like the 3rd round or 2nd round. It was back when Watkins was still being ballyhooed as like an early round pick. And this is Sammy, to me, this is Sammy Watkins in a nutshell. Every time somebody mentions their name, I always think about this. They ran the clock down. The Masellis were talking about like blah, 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 like back and forth who we're going to take. And they ended up drafting Sammy Watkins, and I looked at them when they announced Sammy Watkins, and neither one of them looked happy. They both looked annoyed that they took Watkins there, and I'm like, man, I feel you. That's Watkins in a nutshell, because we're always going to value him. Well, most people will still value him high because based on that talent, based on what you just said about that interview, just looks like a pro, and the production is just not always there.
It's been very up and down. He had a really solid. He's had solid seasons. Then he's had really terrible. Kurt, by the way,
yes,
won Kentucky.
Kentucky 2017 champion Kurt Awe. Menasha's own. Menasha, Wisconsin's own.
Juju Smith-Schuster on waivers.
Yep.
And then heading into week 16, lost Antonio Brown.
Yep.
Started Sammy Watt. Sammy Watt was one of the starting players on his week 16 team that won the whole thing. I don't know. He probably was like 2 for 12. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Whatever the hell he did, it wasn't great.
Sounds like a Watkins line.
There's not really a moral to that story other than picking up Juju was a good move by him.
Okay, so anyway, let's wrap up the Ronald Jones discussion there. You and I like him, and I will say this: potential ascendant candidate. If this guy busts off like a 60-yard run in preseason,
he will.
He could easily move from the late 4th round all the way up to the early 3rd, late 2nd round.
Yeah, if they say, oh yeah, he's our 3-down.
They may not even have to say that, Dave. Yeah. If we see that play, that might be enough.
Yeah, especially if it's like a catch or something like that. I mean, Charles.
Oh my gosh, can you even
Sims
imagine?
Depressed.
Yeah, said Charles Sims gets cut.
Oh
yeah,
that would
oh
help.
my gosh,
That would help.
He'd be the Kareem Hunt of 2018.
It's the Rojo show.
All right, let's get to some emails here. We're really running low on time, so we don't have time to get to all of them tonight.
What are you doing?
What do you mean?
What do you have going on later? Nothing?
Well, I don't want to have this monumental podcast and people see it and they're like, oh my God, I don't want to listen to all this
67 minutes.
George in Baldwin Park, California. Dear Danny and Rusty, can you pick up on that?
Yeah, I have red hair. I get it.
No, Danny and Rusty.
Rusty from Vacation?
No. Danny Ocean and Rusty from Ocean's 11.
Who's Rusty in Ocean's 11?
That's Brad Pitt's character, Rusty.
That's his name?
I don't remember his last name, but I know his first name's Rusty.
Well, never knew that.
Are you going to see the Ocean's 8 movie that comes out this weekend?
Highly unlikely.
Okay. I probably will.
Eventually, maybe.
Eventually I will.
Yeah. I have nothing against women that are in the Ocean's thing.
Right.
That's fine.
Dear Danny and Rusty, has Kelvin Benjamin's perceived value made him fall enough for you guys to get on board with him this season? I just drafted him in FFPC best ball in the 13th round. That is George in Baldwin Park, California. I'm sorry, what did you say?
I was wondering if it was down to 0 yet.
What do you mean down to
Just go ahead.
His ADP?
Yes, whatever. It doesn't matter.
He drafted him in the 13th round, Dave. Kelvin Benjamin's ADP 1207 in best ball right now. Would you agree that Buffalo's number 1 wide receiver is Kelvin Benjamin?
I don't know. Who's the other guy? Zay Jones?
Jones.
Who's breaking hotel windows?
Or Jeremy Curley, who's been looking good in the slot, I guess.
I don't know. I guess it is.
Number 1 receiver in the 12th round. Can you get behind it?
When you put it that way, I guess I can.
I was trying to get you to say yes to Kelvin Benjamin, which I don't think you've ever said in your life.
I just said yes.
There you go. Kelvin Benjamin in the 12th round. We're on board.
I can't get behind a suicidal second-year player versus.
We don't
Kelvin
need
Benjamin.
to talk about that right now.
That's true. Actually, it's probably a bad time.
Lee, it's always a bad time. Lee in Houston, Texas. Are you guys ready to get on board with Carson Wentz now after Mort said the Eagles think he'll be ready for week 1? Can't wait for PVJ. That is Lee in Houston,
When did
Texas.
he get hurt again? Week 8? Like
Super
18?
late, 13, 14.
It was before the playoffs?
Yeah, because Foles ended up leading him.
Yeah, that's late.
Okay, I'll tell you what's not late. Carson Wentz's ADP. Because despite him...
He's not on sale or anything.
No, he's not. Why can I not find... I can't even...
It's too high.
Son of a...
It's way up there.
This is really annoying. Okay, so Carson Wentz... I can't even find him in this ADP. Oh, he's staring me right in the face. 7-11 in best balls right now.
Around what other quarterbacks?
He goes after Cam Newton, Brady, Wilson, Watson, and Rodgers. He's going in the same round or within a half round of Cam Newton, Drew Brees, Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I'd pass.
I would take all those guys instead of Wentz. I'm still not convinced that he is ready week 1. This is like the June. Holy cow. How much of the June hyperbole were we texting back and forth this week about guys just gushing over guys? Darius Geis,
Kevin White's going
to
trying really hard now.
Tariq Cohen. I mean, I can't. It is puff piece madness out there right now with these beat writers.
We're looking at a 4-game sweep in the NBA Finals over here. There's a 23-point game. They have nothing else to talk about. It's over.
That's actually a great point. Just sports writers in general.
Yeah. Well.
I am not on board. And you know what? This is going to do nothing but drive his ADP up. And again, I touched on this earlier. I'm waiting on quarterbacks. Wait. Bill in Altus, Oklahoma. If Dave doesn't like Deshaun Jackson this season, would Chris Godwin represent a good 20th round pick in the Football Guys Players Championship?
Yes, that's a great pick, actually.
Okay. How high would you draft him?
16th, maybe.
Okay.
I think Godwin's he had 400 and some yards last year. Granted, he was subbing in for Jackson a few games, but I mean he did really well.
I can't.
He's a great athlete.
I can't rationally talk about him because I watched Hard Knocks last year with Tampa Bay, and they made the way that they edited the Godwin pieces.
Yeah.
they made him look really awesome.
Oh,
and
really?
I feel like this is like clouding my mind. Like, he's not as great as they made him look.
And I own, by the way, I own 0 shares of Godwin in Dynasty.
Right.
So this is like a jealous infatuation type of thing.
What's the percentage chance that Chris Godwin outscores Deshaun Jackson for fantasy this year?
This year, I don't know, 30%.
30?
Probably. It's not super high.
I think it might be higher.
Maybe.
Deshaun Jackson, man, you think about how old he's getting and all those lower leg injuries he's had over his career. I think it might be higher than 30. Godwin's a young, spry guy. Final email tonight, Dave.
Yeah, it's going to still be tough to take that job from Jackson. But yeah.
Okay. All right. Oh, and the other thing to keep in mind, Mike Evans is there, Ronald Jones is there, O.J. Howard, Cameron Brate. I mean, it's not like they're bare at the other positions.
And the worst news of all,
Jameis Winston's the quarterback?
Yeah, he's still there.
You're terrible. Ed in Ashland, Kentucky is going to wrap things up tonight. Dear D. Wayne and Bob. You got that one?
Let's just move on with all these stupid references.
Come on, do you get it?
No.
D. Wayne and Bob. Belmont Stakes. D. Wayne
Bob
Lucas
Baffert.
And Bob Baffert. There you go. I knew you'd get it. Is there any kind of update on this Kareem Hunt punching a guy story? I can't really find much about it anywhere. TIA.
That means there isn't.
That is Ed in Ashland, Kentucky. You know what's weird is the show actually tweeted this out. The HSFF Hour tweeted out a TMZ story earlier this week about Hunt punching a guy at an Ohio resort. And I actually looked on Twitter because I was surprised, like, football guys didn't pick up on it. Roto World didn't have anything on it. And there weren't a whole lot of, like, major media outlets picking up on this. Sporting News did. They had a report on it. The SB Nation blogs for the Chiefs and the fan-sided, the blogs both had posts on it. I guess some reporter asked Andy Reid about it in one of his press conferences at OTAs, and Reid said all he would say was that he talked to Kareem Hunt since this reportedly happened, and he wouldn't say anything more about that. And then some reporter asked him, it's something to the effect of, like, do you expect this to get better or worse?
Yeah.
And Reid said, I'm not going to comment on it at all. So, and this is...
It's a little smoky.
It is smoky. And think about this. Back in February of this year, he was accused of shoving this woman it was like a late night type thing. He said that she was yelling racial slurs at him, and he was accused of shoving her. So this is the second thing this offseason
need to move Hunt.
for Kareem Hunt. Now, I'm not. Don't overreact to this, but I'm just saying.
Start overreacting, Balky.
This is 2 incidents
I'm dealing them
within a 4-month span, and certainly it seems like there's nothing probably there, but you never know. And I think, as far as redraft goes, since we're talking a lot of redraft right now, I think the thing to keep in mind right now, you can spend to borrow United Airlines thing, since we had Patrick Rybak on, you have a lot of choices with who you fly. You have a lot of choices with who you use your first-round pick on.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know if Kareem Hunt is as thankful as United Airlines would be of you using your first-round pick on him.
You know what's funny is in the one league I own, Hunt, I was just looking at possible trade options. And I'm like, I should trade Hunt for McCaffrey. And I'm like looking. I did Control F to find the McCaffrey owner. It's me. So that sucks.
Well, you just did a trade. You just traded Hunt for McCaffrey. Congratulations.
What's a good deal? Hunt for what? What do you want?
For Dynasty?
Yeah.
Well, Todd Gurley says Kareem Hunt is the number 1 running back this year.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Did you see that? Seriously, that's a thing. Gurley said that. You have to be looking. Are you talking about just running back in general?
Young running back. Yeah, young. Actually, I could trade him for a receiver.
You probably couldn't get Barkley for him right now.
No, probably not.
You probably couldn't get Elliott for him. A young receiver. I'm sorry. I'm still in running back mode.
Running back or receiver. Either one's fine.
You couldn't get Beckham for him. What about, would you give up Kareem Hunt for Mike Evans right now?
I'm not a huge Evans fan necessarily always, but I probably would.
What about, you wouldn't give up Hunt for Cooper, obviously.
No.
You wouldn't give him up for Smith-Schuster.
I already own Smith-Schuster in that league.
Of course. This is...
It gets a little tough at running back. I mean, maybe Dalvin Cook?
Cook would be interesting, for sure. You wouldn't give him up for any other rookies, right?
I might, actually. I might consider. So,
well, who do you consider your number 2 rookie? Rashad Penny? Would you trade Kareem Hunt for Rashad Penny? I wouldn't.
I already own Ronald Jones. And I own Sony Michel in that league. I have a lot of young running backs in that league.
Mike, is this like a 16 league
no,
that you have all these guys?
I have good young running backs. That's just the way I have bad receivers, kind of. Anyway, we don't need to figure this out on the show. I can just do.
What about Kamara? Could you get Kamara for him right now?
Maybe I could try Kamara.
Kamara would be interesting. Fournette.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to. Do
that. And you wouldn't give up Hunt for not Dalvin Cook. You wouldn't give up Hunt for Melvin Gordon, right?
No, I would not. Fournette's interesting. I might look at him.
I know you wouldn't give him up for Mixon. You wouldn't give him up for Freeman. Now I think we're getting into the direct here.
All right, so that's good. We can end the show now. Thank you for the advice.
Last one. And this is the receiver, though. Kareem Hunt or Keenan Allen?
I'd probably take Allen, actually.
Yeah, it's close. I think I would, too. All right, and like Dave so eloquently put, that is going to do it for tonight's show. Congrats to all the Joes that got selected tonight. You'll be in touch with Darren Armani shortly, and do the FFPC proud and beat the hell out of these pros this year. We really are rooting for you for sure. I also want to thank Patrick Rybak, the FFPC, Rob Bryce, and, of course, each and every one of you for listening in on this extra special Pros vs. Joes announcement. Dave, you are going to be gone next week. I believe that's correct. No Dave?
Yes, unfortunately. I really would like to be here.
No Dizzle on Friday, but that's okay. Multiple main bad. It kind of stinks is
Devontae Adams too, by the way.
Yeah, he's another one. Childish Gambino came out with this "This Is America" song, which is really growing. I mean, I think that would have been a good song for this. And plus, I haven't even paying attention, but Kanye West is producing 5 separate albums that he's releasing on 5 consecutive Fridays this summer. He's already released his own, Pusha T's. Today was the Kids See Ghosts album that he did with himself and Kid Cudi. Nas's album, Nasty Nas, comes out next week, and Tiana Taylor after that. So much great music on those. They would have all been fantastic choices for music. And I'm gonna have to live with Drake at this point. All right, thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you again next week with Crack Rock.
Buffalo Wild Wings thinks your afternoons could use a little spicing up, so they're happy to remind you about, well, happy hour. You know the concept. Grab your friends and visit your nearest B-Dubs to score $4 shareables like street tacos, fried pickles, chili queso dip, mozzarella sticks, and roasted garlic mushrooms. There are beverages, too, like select domestic craft beers starting at $3.25, and deals on select liquor and house cocktails. Phew, that's a mouthful. Which reminds me, I'm hungry, and happy hour is sounding pretty good right about now. Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports. Offers and participation vary. Please drink responsibly. Void where prohibited. It's official. Every day is game day at Buffalo Wild Wings. Grab select domestic beers starting at $3.25. We know every day is for sports, as mandated by Buffalo Wild Wings. Watch all the games with people that are here for the right reason, with dozens of beers on tap and 21 different flavors of signature sauces and seasonings, and a bounty of wings, shareables, burgers, and more. It's built for fans. It's home for sports. Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports. Offers and participation vary. Please drink responsibly.